I've got another team for you today. A little bit more spicy. We covered the meta last time, but a little bit more spicy for Kanto Cup this time. And this team is Shadow Hypno, uh, Alolan Graveller, and Alolan Golem. So very similar type of team to teams you've seen me make in the past. This one, every little bit as successful as some of those other whole teams, I guess. I want to get straight into the video. I can explain how the team works and some of the things about it while we watch the first couple battles. But once again, huge shout out to my Patreon supporters. Couldn't have done this without you guys. But as I said, let's get into this video. So this team functions similar to all the rest of the ABB, so shared weakness teams I've run in the past. This time, it's about as clear as day what weaknesses are shared, as Alolan Graveller and Alolan Golem share pretty much identical stat distributions, identical typings, and almost identical move sets. So the goal is pretty much to switch in Alolan Graveller, bait out whatever counters them, which isn't very much in this meta, and then Alolan Golem can sweep. So really, the only things you have to look out for that you can't really either deal huge damage to or win back switch are things like Shadow Victory Bell and Machamp. Just because they deal super effective damage. There's just not much in this meta that resists electric at all. It's really just the ground types, and they're just so underused right now. It's insane. I'd also like to give a shout out to Appleseeds, who helped create this team. He brought to light how strong Graveler was looking in a lot of these practice battles. So I took a look at the PvPoke rankings and stuff like that, and it looked like Alolan Golem is being severely underrated. I don't know if there's a bug with Wild Charge on the PvPoke rankings right now or something, but Alolan Golem is ranked, I think, 54th, and Graveler is 16th. But they have the same movesets, so why is this happening, right? It's not like the stat distribution isn't enough. It just seems like Alolan Golem, for some reason, Wild Charge is chosen, which is fine. I think it's the better move, but I think something's fishy. Maybe it's using Wild Charge to bait for Stone Edge on PvPoke. But Alolan Golem with Wild Charge has by far been the MVP of this team. He's carried it so hard, and it's much less of an investment if you have the candy, at least, like a Stardust investment, to just go for the Alolan Golem in the first place, if you're only going to run one of them. But I've only seen Gravelers around, so that's why I was a bit confused. The other thing about this team is there's a lot of moveset choices, so I'm going to go over, while this battle plays, I'm going to go over moveset choices as well. We're going to see that I am now running Psychic as a charge move on Shadow Hypno. This is an extremely underrated move, I think especially for regular Hypno, just because of the amount of Snorlax and Wigglytuff you see, and a lot of people just don't expect it. They either expect a punch or Shadow Ball, and Snorlax and Wigglytuff don't take any damage from those. Even Alolan Marowak, they're going to shield Shadow Ball anyways, at least the first time, and that's all you really need. And then as far as Hypno Mirrors, that's where I think I'm really missing the Shadow Ball. As for Alolan Graveler, I know the PvPoke recommended moveset is Volt Switch, I think Rock Blast, and Stone Edge. Instead of Stone Edge, I'm using Thunderbolts, but I think Stone Edge would be perfectly fine as well. I think there's a lot of cases where I get the Thunderbolt off. Stone Edge is the same cost, so I could have been using Stone Edge instead, and I think it actually does a little bit more damage. But that's fine. The extra coverage is maybe worth it, in my opinion. And then Alolan Golem, I have him as the closer just because he's carrying Wild Charge, and Wild Charge is much better with shields down. So that's the goal there. I use Rock Blast instead of Stone Edge on both of them, even though Rock Blast is a terrible move just because it's a little bit cheaper. And a lot of those times with this team, if they have shields up, you just want to get that chip damage in. So you have that option for shields up with Rock Blast and the option for shields down with Wild Charge. So with that being said, that was a bit longer of an intro than I expected. I wanted to have some games rolling while I said that so you guys didn't get too bored, but we can get right into these games. This team was wildly successful. I had to cut out a 3-2 set in the middle just because there was lag on both sides. I won a game where the opponent wasn't even attacking back at all, and that's just not fun to watch. But no negative sets on the day, and you'll see how this goes. So Lapras lead. Hypno actually does pretty good against it just because I'm running Thunder Punch, but I'm going to swap out anyways because you swap out of neutral matchups here. I throw the Thunderbolt, and it actually does quite a bit of damage to this Snorlax, and I'm going to let my Growler go down to a superpower. It doesn't really matter. So now I know that Snorlax is their best Graveler or Golem counter. And this game, even though they're going to bring in Lapras here again, this game has gotten, I wouldn't say it's easy for me, but it's the win is definitely there for me to take as long as they didn't make a mistake in swapping in that Snorlax at the beginning. And here we are. The Alolan Marowak comes in, and I'm able to just fire some Rock Blast here. And they get 2 free fire spins through, so that's quite a bit. The problem is you need to get to 2 Rock Blasts versus an Alolan Marowak. They'll usually shield the first one just in case it's a Stone Edge, and that was the first time I've ever been Bone Clubbed, I guess. So I forgot that it's 4 times super effective, so I really should have shielded that. But you live and you learn. This was the first ever set I played with this team, so still learning matchups, and I make this game much closer than it should have been. This should have been a very easy win. I end this game with a shield and a tie, so that's okay. Tie on the first set is fine, and I think the first 2 games that we missed were both wins. But Wigglytuff, I'm going to swap right away as well. This is not a great matchup for the Graveler Golem line, but a lot of the time they switch out anyways, and they swap onto Alolan Marowak this time, which is very interesting considering that my Hypno would definitely have problems with it if it were lined up in the future. And you see I'm trying to count moves there, so I throw 2 Volt Switches and then my Rock Blast so they don't get any free things in. I do it again, but this time I just get really greedy. I guess the Rock Blast wouldn't have KO'd anyways, so yeah, they get an extra fire spin in there too. And at this point I have no shields remaining, but they also don't have any shields remaining, and they have no energy. So I'm going to go into the Golem because I can Wild Charge my way out of this situation, hopefully. And they have a Gyarados. So I Rock Blast here instead of Wild Charge because I think it'll still KO. And then Wigglytuff comes in, and we're going to see how much damage a Wild Charge actually does to Wigglytuff. So this game isn't over yet because Play Rough will hit... Oh, it is over. But if Wigglytuff was able to get to that charge move by farming down Golem, Play Rough hits Hypno incredibly hard. And here we have a Skarmory GBL reward. These have finally become good because Catch Cup is coming up. Although I do expect that a lot of people will be running something like a Skarmory, Whiscash, and I don't know, Wigglytuff, like just a basic easy to get teams for Catch Cup. Yeah, that's the first set. 3-1 and 1. Pretty solid gains if I could see my rating yet. But yeah, so here's one of the negative switches. You usually don't see a lot of these. This is my first Hitmonchan, but look, they swap in and they take the Thunderbolt. Nobody expects the Thunderbolt. They're all expecting you to be running Stone Edge, and because of that, I get that free kill on Shadow Hitmonchan, and I win back switch advantage. And because of this, because I've already baited out their best Golem counter, and Lapras is decently high, I do go in with my Hypno, and they are running Wigglytuff here. So unfortunately, if they did swap a bit slower, so look, I'm going to Psychic here, but I wasn't looking at their health. It's too low. They're probably going to shield anyways, so it doesn't really matter. But now my Golem has a win condition. I realize that they only have 1 shield left, and a Wild Charge will KO the Lapras. So I just need to farm this Wiggly all the way down and get 1 more Wild Charge off against this Lapras. Now you got to make sure this Wild Charge bar is really full. I've lost a game because it wasn't quite full, and I was going for the double Wild Charge, and I ended up taking some extra damage. Although I think this game was in that condemned 3-2 set that I had to remove due to lag on both sides. But yeah, a pretty easy win there. Alolan Golem comes out and cleans up. So we're going to instant switch yet again out of Alolan Muck. Alolan Muck is not great against the 2 in the back. Like, there's no sort of typing disadvantage. The thing is, they just are faster. Like, they get to moves faster than Muck does. And Muck really needs to get to moves faster. And see, I could have actually went for the Thunderbolt there, but I didn't realize quite how much Volt Switch would give me, but they shield the Rock Blast anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. I'm going to come back in with Hypno just because I know that that Muck is lurking around the corner, so I don't mind getting a little bit low there. And I know their Muck's coming back in, but I'll throw the Thunder Punch and get out of there. This Muck is probably going to have 2 moves, so I'm going to shield one of them. Oh, he doesn't actually have two moves, and they're going to bring in Pidgeot. So, yeah, Pidgeot is another Pokemon that's very hard pressed to come in on any of these Pokemon. Even Hypno has Thunder Punch, and is much bulkier and has Confusion. So, um, this is just one of those situations. I shield again. I didn't need to shield this, but this is just one of those situations where you win the game solely because all three of your Pokemon beat one of theirs. So this will happen with stuff like Pidgeot, with Golbat. Um, there's a bunch of others with Gyarados, where their Pokemon just have no play against your entire team. So they're playing a 2v3. And there's not really that many Pokemon that Graveler and Golem don't have any play against at all. So as long as they have one of those Pokemon, your team has an advantage. Graveler and Golem may not have the best stat products in Kanto Cup, but the electric and rock damage, they're both not really resisted by anything because ground is non-existent in Kanto Cup so far. Dugtrio, Alolan Dugtrio, Marowak are potential Pokemon that might be rearing their ugly heads soon with all these Alolan Marowaks and all these maybe potentially more Growlers and Golems now. But I'm able to get that huge damage off with Thunderbolt and burn the last shield, and I'm going to come back in with Golem, but I really did not want to take that charge move on Golem, so I switched to catch it on Hypno, and unfortunately, they have an Alolan Muck. So the goal here is to not let them farm me all the way down, because that will be a loss. So I want to keep the pressure on with Thunder Punches, and luckily I am able to get to Wild Charge because I don't think Rock Blast is enough to KO from that range and take down that Wigglytuff before I get charmed down. So another pretty easy win there. That was a pretty risky play for me to swap that Golem in first, just because I knew that Wigglytuff would be getting to a charge move. So Electrode, I hadn't seen one of these in a while. I kind of forgot what to do, but I realized it was running Foul Play. So I tried to catch it. Unfortunately, Foul Play does a decent amount still to Graveler, but they're going to swap out into their own Hypno. I'm going to go for the Thunderbolt. This is where I guess if I was running Stone Edge in these neutral matchups, it would hit really, really hard. But that's fine too. I'll probably be able to get a shield back here with Rock Blast. And now, even though I lost switch advantage, I have shield advantage, and I'm going to swap into my Golem because I don't want to take a super effective Shadow Ball. I end up shielding anyways. But in this case, I have Wild Charges stored up, and I know I can probably get these shields back. Whatever comes in is not really going to like Wild Charge, unless it's this Electrode, which is pretty annoying, but I know it's going to be at a Foul Play very soon. Only takes 3. Yeah, it's already there. But my Golem does beat it, and now since this uses energy, I'm going to swap, but they're also going to swap to Snorlax. So here is where Psychic comes in handy. Let's see how much damage this thing does. It's quite a bit. Even if Snorlax is able to take me down here, he'll be too low to really do anything. I'm actually just going to go for the Thunder Punch here. I probably should have just farmed all the way down, but I thought that I could beat the Electrode with Confusions, and I can. That was a riskier play. If I just farmed all the way down and thrown the Psychic or the Thunder Punch at the Electrode, that would have been a much cleaner win. But those are the kind of things that it's hard to think of, especially when you're learning a new team and in the moment. So Alolan and Marowak are going to swap right away as well, and they're going to come in with Wigglytuff. I always throw Thunderbolt here. Especially if the Wiggly's taking no chip damage, they almost always let it in, and this is what happens. You can just farm them down afterwards. They don't even get to a charge move. So you win back switch advantage, you don't expend a shield, and you have a charge move, a Thunderbolt, to throw onto the next Pokemon. So Graveler wins switch, gets a shield. It's actually pretty incredible. Now Mew is also a very good counter to Hypno. So this guy's running a lot of anti-Hypno stuff. There's a Flame Charge. I really shouldn't have shielded the first one, but with Mew, you never know. Like, it could have been a Surf, which would have hurt a lot. And now it's a Rock Slide. So I've wasted 2 shields on this matchup already. And now Alolan Marowak comes in. So this is pretty unfortunate. But Wild Charge still deals a ton of damage. I'm actually not sure. I should look this up if it deals more damage against super effective targets. But I'm going to swap out right away. Hypno is worse against Mew than Marowak, I think. Like, sure, you take all this damage, but I'm able to still KO, and unfortunately I'm not quite able to get to that Thunder Punch, but I will be able to get to this Rock Blast. I probably should have clicked Wild Charge when I'm pretty sure Rock Blast is going to be enough anyways. It's just, yeah, it's kind of, it's weird running this team with 3 4-turn charge moves. Just because it feels so slow. But that's a 5-0 right there, so pretty solid gains again. I've been getting a lot of 5-0s the last couple days, so I must have tanked my rating pretty hard during Little Cup trying to make non-Bronzor teams work, which I failed at, I guess is the easy way to say that. But yeah, no, Kanto Cup has been a blast so far. Yeah, and it feels good to be back off of the meta teams a little bit. So we're going to see Snorlax lead. I accidentally click Confusion, but I'm trying to swap right away. You got to be wary of Superpower here, especially if you switch in. They'll usually Superpower right away. And I've got to this Thunderbolt already, so I'm going to throw it, and they're going to let it through. And I'm just going to try and farm them all the way down, and this is a little bit risky. So I don't actually know how much energy I have. I really wish this was shown right now. So I can make these decisions, because it's very hard to tell with Volt Switch, especially when Volt Switch finishes someone off, how much energy you're going to have at the end there. I guess it's just a matter of experience. But Snorlax comes back in, and it might be an odd decision to bring in this Hypno, but he already has a decent amount of energy, and I really did not want Superpower being thrown on my Golem. At this point, I think I'm just going to let my Hypno go down and just try and win this game with my Alolan Golem. With a shield advantage. I don't think there's too much that with a shield advantage Alolan Golem can't really beat. So it's an Alolan Marowak here, and I know 2 Rock Blasts is absolutely enough to finish this off. I don't have to mess around with Wild Charge and the defense debuffs. I just don't want them to get to a Bone Club, and the Snorlax is very low in the back. So with that energy advantage, Alolan Golem absolutely wrecks. Actually, I'm pretty sure with an energy advantage, Alolan Golem might be like the best sweeper in Kanto Cup besides maybe Mewtwo or Shadow Mewtwo or something, but nobody's crazy enough to run that right now. So we're going to see another Alolan Marowak lead. Swap out of that right away, get into this Alolan Graveller, and actually a decent amount of times people stay at least to throw a charge move. I like to let this one through because I know it doesn't KO, and they usually bring in something else anyways. Get to this Rock Blast just to deal a little bit of chip damage to this Wiggly. I know I can't really go into Alolan Golem because if they do blow shields, then I'm not going to win that matchup. Whereas if I go into Shadow Hypno, I do enough damage with Confusions that if I spend a shield, I can keep switch and end this matchup with a ton of energy. So even Marowak coming in, I know Marowak is pretty low. I just have to get a Thunder Punch or 2, no, just 1 off, and we'll see what they have in the back, and it's Snorlax. So I really, in most cases, I Psychic Snorlax, but in this case, I really should have Thunder Punch. Look at its their shield situation. They've got 2 shields. Of course they're going to shield. But I guess it is the safe move to blow the Psychic, because either they take a huge Psychic or they burn a shield. And once they burn a shield, Alolan Golem outpaces Snorlax to 2 Wild Charges, and I'm able to just, even with all that lag, I actually think I was going through a train tunnel at this point. They got like 3 licks off before I could even get my Wild Charge, and I didn't even, yeah, there's the I'm a passenger notification right there. 2 Wild Charges is easily enough to clean up Snorlax in this situation. So we have Hypno versus Hypno. I usually swap out of these just because Shadow Ball is so threatening and I'm not running it. I like to bait first versus Lapras. All your charge moves are super effective and they can't really take a Stone Edge. So, but you also can't really take a Surf. The other thing is, though, that you outpace them to moves. So I'm going to throw Thunderbolt just because a lot of times they don't shield the second one, but they do in this case. But guess what? I'm still going to outpace them to this next move, I think. And yeah, so you can see I don't overtap there. I undertap, so I wait a little bit for my bar to fill out, and then I can click the button. But now shields are down. I'm going to get this Thunderbolt off on this Hypno, which deals an absolute ton of damage. But this Hypno has a lot of energy, and I have no shields. So it's likely they have a Shadow Ball. Yeah, a Shadow Ball deals a lot of damage anyways, and I'm going to swap. This is like a really dumb decision because they're able to bring in their Muck. I was kind of trying to catch a Shadow Ball. I didn't want to spend energy, but it is what it is. So this Alolan Muck, if he's smart, is going to charge up to 2 Dark Pulses, and he's going to be able to just KO KO my Alolan Golem. So I think this is one of those situations where if I stayed in, it would have turned out quite a bit better. But that's fine. You can't win them all. Sometimes it's just really poor play. Sometimes it's team comp. And I'd rather lose to poor play than team comp because one of those is avoidable. So I'm going to swap right away, but I guess it was a bit slow because they're going to get to a Bone Club. And they're going to swap into Alolan Raticate. So this thing is very annoying, actually. And they didn't shield, which is a bummer. This thing is way tankier than I expected. Like, I expected a Rock Blast to do closer to half, but they don't shield at all. And I decide that I will shield because quick attacks don't do very much damage, and I can win switch and leave this with a charge move. So, unfortunately, I go for the Thunderbolt because I didn't realize how little damage Fire Spins do. I actually definitely could have probably got to 2 Rock Blasts there instead, which would have threatened a lot more. But instead, I'm going to have to go into my Alolan Golem and likely spend... Oh, yeah. See, I try and swap there if you notice me pressing on my screen to catch another Bone Club. But we're going to see Wiggly come in, and this is why you run Psychic. This matchup and for Snorlax. So Psychic absolutely demolishes Wiggly, and there's no way this Alolan Marowak can take out Hypno without throwing energy, unless they farm me down like that, which is very smart play. But unfortunately for them, I got a Rock Blast charge up, and Alolan Golem wins CMP versus Alolan Marowak. So that was, as soon as I eliminated the Wiggly with Psychic, then that was a pretty much game over right there. So we see another Alolan Graveller. This guy's flexing on me, but we both swap right away, and this is not a good position for Alolan Graveller. Yeah, this is really bad. And the worst part is I shielded so I could charge up a little bit more and then fake a Stone Edge, but I was locked in the CMP tie. Luckily, though, the second Rock Blast only takes 2 Volt Switches to get to, so I outpace. But the problem is they decided to charge or farm me down. So the other issue here, they're running Return. I didn't realize they were Purified. I really should have blown that other shield. My Hypno takes a ton of damage, but maybe in hindsight it was probably better I didn't, just because this Hypno is going to be locked in against this Muck anyways. Yeah, and they have a Alolan Graveler here, so we'll see how this matchup plays out, but everything is resisted, and they're just going to be able to throw a big fat Stone Edge at me right here, and this game is over. Yeah, I'm just going to let that go. Yeah, just flex the Psychic on them. But yeah, just a 3-2 win here. Had a couple of unfortunate losses. Yeah, I can't believe they insta-swapped to Dragonair too, but either way, even if they had swapped a little bit slower, the game wouldn't have changed too much. They're running a pretty anti-meta team as well. This team performs better just against the straight meta, just because it outpaces those Pokemon like Wigglytuff, Muck, Hypno, Alolan Marowak, those kinds of Pokemon. Whereas Dragonair, that's not a Pokemon you expect to run into, but it's one of the few that resists Electric in the entire meta. We're going to see a Shadow Golbat in the lead, and they don't swap out, which means they have something else extremely weak to Hypno, but they also don't even bait the Shadow Ball. They just go for the Poison Fang. I'm going to let that through. Poison Fang is a really awful move. We're going to see what they come in with, and I'm going to click the Psychic button, and I don't know what I am doing, because it's an Alolan Muck. It does quite a bit of damage still, though, but yeah, that's why they didn't switch out, because they have a Shadow Machamp in the back. And if they swapped in their Alolan Muck, the game would just be over. So I'm going to shield here because it can be a Rock Slide. And I do need this Hypno to take down this Machamp. I'm not going to shield though because I think it's a Cross Chop. And now I have enough energy for one more move to throw out this Alolan Muck. They're not going to shield. And in this situation, I'm going to switch, and I don't even think I'll need to get to a charge move. I should just be able to farm them all the way down. I'm not even going to throw my shield until I need to, just to save some time, but they decide to throw their move anyways. It's highly unlikely that they were at a double, but even if they were, that extra damage got through, so they weren't going to get that second charge move off. Starting to see a Wigglytuff lead. Another like pretty favorable lead, but I missed the button, and I tried to swap right away. It didn't really work. But I'm going to get to that Thunderbolt, and hopefully they don't shield. The thing is they do this time because their confusion damage came through, so they feel like their Wiggly's a bit low. So that's the other issue about tapping right away. But I at least get 2 shields from this Wigglytuff, which is pretty huge. I know I'm going to have to spend 1 because Plague Rough or Dazzling Gleam, I think, in this case, yeah, deals an absolute ton of damage. And they're going to come in with their Hypno, and I screwed up. Yeah, I have to shield there. And my switch, I didn't wait my switch timer. So they trapped me in there. I know this Hypno, the best they can do is Shadow Ball, which they do. And I'm at 2 wild charges now, so I'm just going to see how much damage I can do to these Pokemon. So their Wigglytuff comes in, can eliminate that as well. And I just have to really hope that whatever's in the back is weak to Hypno. So Snorlax is not traditionally weak to Hypno, but when Hypno has 100 energy and is running Psychic, I would argue that it is. Because we're going to see this guy just get deleted. This is yet another game that Psychic honestly has won, where I don't think another move could have. And I think that's happened. There's not another situation where I'm like, man, I really wish I had another move, except maybe versus that Dragonair with Ice Punch. That's it. But yeah, they're going to bring in their own Hypno, and I'm going to swap right away. And I don't shield whatever this is, but it is a Shadow Ball, so that hurts way more than I expected. We'll see if they shield this Thunderbolt. I probably should have. They don't, but I'm able to get them pretty low, and I'm going to bring in my Golem to try and get some charges for, some energy for Wild Charge, and I will shield the Shadow Ball this time. I've learned from my mistakes, and we'll see what they bring in, but nothing likes a Wild Charge, so even those traditional counters like Machamp and Hitmonchan and Victory Bell, they can't really take the charge moves. So I throw a Rock Blast bait there because people love protecting their Mews. It's actually ridiculous. And they throw a Wild Charge. So they come in with Dugong, and I decide to throw my Wild Charge here. It doesn't quite KO, but I can switch out to my Hypno, catch that charge move since I'm debuffed. Switching in to catch Icy Wind is generally an awful idea, but in this case, it is a pretty good idea, just because I would lose all that energy in my Alolan Golem otherwise. So I'm just trying to do as much damage as I can to this Mew. I don't throw my Thunder Punch there right away because I'm trying to bait them to use their energy on me. But it looks like they're running Wild Charge, Rock Slide, and I'm just going to get my final Wild Charge off and win that game nice and easy. There's been a lot of Mews. I'm surprised at how many people still have their Mews at a Great League level. It's pretty insane. But we're going to see another Wigglytuff lead, and I'll swap out of this one again right away. I'll just go for the Thunderbolt here. I know how this matchup goes. And this time it is successful, so I will be able to farm this Wiggly down. And they're going to actually switch into their Snorlax. So because I get this Thunderbolt off again, I feel more comfortable going into Golem because I'll probably only have to shield 1 move. But because they're charging up so much, I can kind of sense them going for the double superpower. So I'll throw the Rock Blast. And this is probably Body Slam, yeah, but I'm going to shield it anyways and get to another Rock Blast because of an overtap and force them to either shield or just never throw a superpower. And that's just completely fine by me as well. I'm in a good position because I have a Alolan Golem. I'm able to farm up and go for Wild Charges, but they instead bring in an Alolan Marowak, so I can just go for Rock Blast instead. And I just know I need to get to 3 Rock Blasts to get past the shield. And even so, I do have Hypno, and I debated not shielding here and going into the Hypno. Yeah, and I go into the Hypno to catch the Bone Club here. So this is actually potentially game-saving play, and they leave there recognizing that confusion alone is enough to KO this Marowak, especially at that HP. And if not, then I have an Alolan Golem in the back. So this is what we talked about. Beedrill also doesn't really have any play against this entire team. Generally against a Graveler or a Golem, Beedrill has play in charging up to a Drill Run on another Pokemon and throwing it, but there's no Pokemon that Beedrill can really charge up on. Beedrill can't charge up on Hypno. It will just get deleted. So in this case, I'm going to Do I shield? I don't shield. So that was pretty dumb. But I'm at a 2-0 shield advantage. I realize I just gotta... I can eliminate this Muck. And whatever they have, it's a Beedrill. So I don't know why I didn't throw the Rock Blast here. Because I know for sure they're probably baiting. But yeah. But we both swap immediately. And this is absolute killer. If they had swapped first, this would have been such an easy game. But it's an Alolan Eradicate. And I realize now that I've made a terrible mistake. If it farms me down, it can just throw charge moves at Alolan Golem. So I really need to get it as low as possible, so that it's within KO range of whatever I have charged up right now. And I really hope that I win, or I didn't even try and win CMP. I'm just going to tank one of whatever they have, so it's a crunch. And I'm going to try and go for this really aggressive farm down, which is risky, but I think the play I needed to make. And they're going to come back in with their Beedrill. I'm going to bait with the, or not bait with the Rock Blast. I'm just going to go for the Rock Blast because it's super effective. And I actually almost lost this game because I didn't realize their Alolan Eradicate was still alive and they had switched instead of just swapping in. So yeah, another pretty stressful 5-0. But 5-0 is a 5-0, so quite a bit of rating gain there. This team, or actually Kanto Cup, has just been treating me very well. I do want to try and make a Shadow Victory Bell team, but I also don't want to spend any more dust. That's the other main advantage of this Alolan Graveller, Alolan Golem team, is second moving them is only 10,000 dust. It's very cheap. Bargain deals everywhere. But yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. I do think Graveller and Golem probably are really underplayed right now in the Kanto Cup meta. They're very cheap to power up, and they're a ton of fun. You just deal a lot of damage. This is a fun lineup to play. Yeah, if you guys like this kind of content, feel free to hit that subscribe button, and I'll put my relevant info, my Discord, Patreon, Twitter, all in the comments, or sorry, in the video description. So if you guys want to support me, then feel free to check that out. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.